My husband looked at the birthday box and said, "Don't open it." I laughed until I looked closer. 30 minutes later, the police were at our door. I stood still. The box sat between us like it had lungs. I didn't open it. I did something else instead. And that's when everything changed. I'm not one of those birthday people. You won't catch me throwing glittery parties or hashtagging photos with 34 and thriving. I've never cared much for cake candles or public declarations of aging. Usually I forget it's my birthday until Jason hands me a chocolate bar and makes some dumb joke about how lucky he is to be married to a mature woman. That's enough for me. Quiet, simple, nothing flashy. So when the phone rang the day before my birthday and my mom's voice came through sticky sweet like someone had injected maple syrup straight into her veins, I already knew something was off. "Oh, sweetheart," she cooed. "We sent you a little surprise. Should arrive right on time." Right on time. That phrase, from a woman who never showed up to one single graduation event on time, not even the virtual ones, but somehow always managed to be early when Ellie was the center of attention. Still, I played along. I always did. "Oh, okay," I said, holding my voice in neutral. "Thanks." She giggled. My mother does not giggle. "It's nothing big," she added. "Just a little token, you know. Our love." That should have been the moment I knew, not because of what she said, but because of what she didn't follow it with. Usually, "I love you" came tied to a backhanded reminder. You're too sensitive. You always take things the wrong way. But this time, just syrup and giggles. A stupid part of me hoped. I hate that about myself. How even after 34 years of being offered scraps, I still tilt my head like a dog at the sound of affection. Maybe this time it's real. Maybe they're trying. They weren't. The next morning was peaceful. Jason made pancakes. He kissed my forehead and let me drink my coffee in bed. He ducked into his office for a quick call and I let myself breathe. Then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I padded barefoot down the hallway and opened the front door. There it was, a plain cardboard box, medium-sized. No bow, no gift tag, no happy birthday. Riso balloon taped to the side. Just brown tape and a printed label. I carried it into the kitchen, dropped it on the counter, and called out to Jason, "Hey, my gift arrived." He came out, took one look at the box, and froze. "Don't open it." I blinked. "What, just don't look closer?" I tilted my head. "Why can't you see it?" He didn't answer. So I looked. Really looked. And that's when my breath started to turn colder than the kitchen tile under my feet. No handwriting, no sender. The return address wasn't their street, not even their city. Just a P.O. box. I hadn't even noticed that part. Jason stepped closer, tapped the edge of the box, gently with one finger. "There," he said. "Do you see it?" And I did. The tape. The label format. The exact weight. The way the barcode was aligned. All of it looked familiar. Not in a good way. My heart tripped. And then, as if fate wanted to double down, my phone rang. It was her. I answered on speaker. "Sweetheart," my mom sang. Did it arrive? Jason stood silent next to me. My eyes darted to the box. "Yeah," I said, lying through my teeth. "It came." "Did you open it?" I hesitated for just a second too long. "Yeah," I said. "It's beautiful. Thank you." My mom let out this strange, satisfied sigh. "We just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You're our girl. Don't ever forget that." My stomach clenched. My mother had never called me our girl. Not when I graduated, not when I got married, not when I sat on her couch crying after a miscarriage 2 years ago. Jason looked at me. I shook my head slightly. "Well," she chirped, "we just thought you deserved something nice. You're so strong. You always have been." Then she hung up. I stared at the box. Jason poured tea. Neither of us said a word. We didn't open it. We just waited. 30 minutes later, the knock came. To understand what that box really meant, why I didn't touch it, why I lied on the phone, why my husband stood there like a silent shield, you need to understand Ellie. Ellie is my younger sister, by 3 years, but lighter by about 1,000 emotional pounds. If I was duty, Ellie was delight. If I was the kid who kept quiet and did what she was told, Ellie was the one who wailed when the world didn't bend just right and got rewarded for it. I think I was 8 the first time I realized what she was. We had this hideous green ceramic vase in the hallway. Looked like something an angry witch would keep frog legs in. It probably cost $12, but Mom treated it like it belonged in the Louvre. One afternoon there was a crash. The sound of something precious dying. I came out of my room and there she was, Ellie, standing next to shards of green ceramic bottom lip, trembling like she'd trained for it. I didn't touch it. I hadn't even been in the hallway. But the moment Mom rounded the corner, Ellie pointed at me. Riso did it. No stutter, no hesitation, no warmth, just cold betrayal in a baby pink hoodie. I opened my mouth, then I closed it, because I knew how this movie ended. Mom's face turned into that look she always gave me, the one like she was solving a puzzle she didn't like the shape of. Well, you're the big sister. You should have been watching her. I got sent to my room. Ellie got a popsicle. That was the first time I understood what power looked like in our house. Not responsibility, not truth. Tears. Years later, when I was 12, Ellie borrowed my favorite sweater, the one Grandma had given me, soft blue with little stitched vines down the sleeve. She wore it to school, got paint on it during art class, then came home and told me it was my fault. "You didn't tell me it was special," she said. Mom nodded like it made perfect sense. "Why didn't you hide it better, Riso?" "She's still learning boundaries." Ellie didn't apologize. She said I overreacted. Then she cried. Then she got ice cream. And I learned something else in our house. Emotions weren't shared. They were weaponized. As we got older, the gap widened. Ellie didn't go to college. She found herself. First with a yoga certification, then with a brief essential oils career, then a failed Etsy shop where she sold bath bombs that looked like moldy potatoes. My $600 funded that experiment, by the way. Never paid back. Never acknowledged. Not everyone fits the mold, my mom said. Ellie's creative. She's got soul. She's trying. They said that like I was the problem. Like paying your bills and having health insurance meant you had no soul. So I stayed in my lane. Built a quiet life. Got married to a good man. Kept my head down. Watched from a distance while Ellie failed upward with their applause in the background. Then came the lunch. About a year ago, Mom asked me to meet her. Just me. That was rare. So rare it felt like being summoned by royalty. We met at this overpriced farm-to-table place she used to pretend to love. Ellie was already there, sipping something green from a mason jar, wearing sunglasses indoors, like an influencer with no followers. They were too friendly. We ordered overpriced salads and chatted about nothing. Then Ellie leaned in. "So?" "I was wondering," she said, "would it be okay if I used your name and address for something, just for a business account? This art thing I'm working on, it's not shady or anything, just temporary. You're so stable." That word, stable. In our family, stable was code for boring, for safe to dump things on, for you'll never say no, right? Mom jumped in. We just thought it made sense. You're good with paperwork. I looked at them both. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't roll my eyes. I just said no. Ellie blinked, smiled too fast. "Hey, well, that's okay." Lunch ended early. A week later, the freeze-out began. The Christmas invite got lost. Dad sent me a snippy email about not supporting family ventures. Ellie unfollowed me on Instagram. I told myself I didn't care. But I did. Of course I did. I was the one who kept hoping that maybe this time they'd see me. That maybe saying no wouldn't make me the villain. That maybe finally I could stop paying for being the daughter who didn't cry on command. But they moved on without me. And honestly, that was fine. Quiet is better than chaos. I built peace out of silence. Jason and I created something still and safe. No smashed vases. No late-night sob stories about creative blocks. No games. So when that box showed up at my door on my birthday, a day they never usually cared about, I knew. This wasn't kindness. This wasn't change. It was calculation. Jason tapped the edge of the box again. "There," he said. And I saw it. The tape, the label, the gloss. I'd seen it before. We'd been to Ellie's place once, me and Jason, about a year back. She'd texted asking if we could return some dishes she'd left behind at Thanksgiving. Said she wasn't home, just working out of the space, whatever that meant. We swung by on a Sunday. I expected a mess. What I didn't expect was a distribution center. Her hallway was stacked with boxes, glossy tape, fragile stickers. The air smelled like varnish and hot glue, like the inside of a cheap gift shop. Jason raised an eyebrow. I asked what it all was. Inventory, she said. Don't touch that one supplier's strict. They track everything. Strict. Not important. Not expensive. Strict. And now that same smell, that same tape, that same supplier was sitting in my kitchen, with my name on the box. Jason didn't need to explain. I already knew. She'd used me. Somehow, someway my name had ended up tied to something it should never have touched, and I realized I wasn't holding a present. I was holding liability. That was the moment I stopped being stunned and started planning. It wasn't loud. I didn't scream or cry or toss the box out the window. There wasn't a montage of me shredding documents or flipping tables. I just walked over to the counter, picked up my phone, and tapped record. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I'd learned something the hard way in our family proof was survival. If it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen. If I couldn't replay it, they'd rewrite it. Jason didn't ask what I was doing. He didn't need to. He knew this wasn't about curiosity anymore. It was about protection. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. My mother. Jason nodded toward the call. I answered and hit speaker. "Sweetie," she purred. "Did it arrive?" "It came," I said, watching the recording timer tick up. "Thank you. Did you open it?" "I did." I lied. "It's beautiful." She gave a syrupy laugh. "We just thought you deserved something lovely. You've always been so strong. Our girl." That sentence made my stomach curl in on itself. She'd never called me that. Not when I got married. Not when I lost a baby. Not even when I sat on her floor and sobbed into the sleeve of my own sweater because she refused to hug me. Jason crossed his arms. His jaw clenched. My mother's voice oozed warmth. Too much warmth, like someone covering a stain with perfume. Well, she finished, "Just know how much we love you. Don't ever forget it." And then she hung up. I tapped to end the recording. Jason exhaled. We both stood there staring at the box like it might say something. And then the knock came. 3 gentle raps on the front door. Jason turned to me. I nodded. We opened it together. 2 uniformed officers stood on the porch. Calm, neutral, practiced faces. "Are you Russo?" one asked. "Yes. We received a report about a package delivered to this address. Would you mind if we come in and ask a few questions?" I stepped aside. Jason stayed behind me like a shadow. I led them into the kitchen. "That's the one," I said, pointing to the box. Still sealed, still heavy. They examined it without touching. "Addressed to you, yes." "You opened it." No, one officer turned to the other. A quiet exchange. Then the gloves came out. Box cutter, clipboard, protocol. I sat at the table while they peeled back the tape. Inside, bubble wrap, figurines, certificates of authenticity, a packing slip. It looked innocent if you didn't know the smell. If you hadn't seen the same items stacked in your sister's apartment, wrapped in the same plastic, sealed with the same tape, barcoded with the same ink. The officer scanned one item. The screen lit up. He turned to his partner. Another glance. Then to me. "Do you know what these are?" I shrugged. "Art." "Maybe do you know where they came from?" "My parents, as a birthday gift." "Do you have proof of that?" I picked up my phone and played the recording. My mother's voice. "Did you get our little gift? Just wanted to show you how much we love you?" I paused it. The officer nodded. "We're going to take this with us," he said gently. "You're not being charged at this time, but this shipment matches materials in an active investigation." I gave a tight smile. "Take it." Jason walked them out. I stayed seated. The kitchen was still. My tea was still warm. I hated that. That something so wrong could happen and the world stayed the same. 3 hours after the box left my kitchen, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I didn't even bother wondering who it might be. I picked up. And there it was, my mother's voice, but all the syrup had curdled. How could you? I said nothing. You told the police it was Ellie's. I took a breath. I told them who sent it to me. You know what this means for her? She snapped. Yes, I said. I do. You could have kept your mouth shut. You could have said it was a mistake. We didn't have a choice. I let the words hang. That was always their script. We didn't have a choice. Translation. We had a plan, and it didn't include you saying no. You always have a choice, I said quietly. She faltered. If they found it at your place, it would have ended there. Quiet, contained. No one else gets hurt. But I do, I said. I was always the containment zone, wasn't I? That's when my father's voice joined in. Calm, calculated. The voice he only used when explaining tax forms or lies. We thought they'd seize the items and move on. We didn't think it would trace back this far. But you thought it would trace to me. Pause. Rizzo? He said slowly. You're stronger. You've always been stronger. He used my name like a balm, like I should be proud of the reason they chose me. You used my house, I said. Ellie's not built for this, and I am. There was no answer, only silence. And then my mother, again cold this time. You've always been the cold one, Rizzo. And now look what you've done. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I ended the call. Jason walked back into the kitchen holding 2 mugs of tea like he hadn't just heard my family try to turn me into a scapegoat in real time. He slid one toward me. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. The spot where the box had sat on the counter still felt loud. It echoed. They really thought I'd open it, I whispered. Jason nodded. They really did. That was the first moment I felt something close to rage, not hot, not explosive, but cold, precise, like a scalpel. They thought I'd walk into it blindly. They counted on it, because I always made it easy, because I was always the one who took the fall without blinking. But this time I'd told the truth, even if it was quiet. A week passed, silence, no updates. No arrests, no calls. Then one morning, just as the light hit our kitchen in that perfect soft way that made everything feel briefly normal, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Of course, Miss Russo, the voice asked. This is Detective Carlisle. Do you have a few minutes? I didn't answer immediately. Just grabbed a spoonful of cereal. Sure, I said. Why not burn it down before breakfast? He didn't laugh. We need to confirm something. Your name appears on multiple documents related to a business your sister operated. Have you ever registered a business under your name? No. Have you ever listed yourself as a co-owner or managing partner of any company involving art sales or resale? I blinked. I once tried to sell a bookshelf on Facebook Marketplace. He didn't chuckle. There's a digital signature filed using your name tied to a business email address under the domain .designs. I rolled my eyes. Let me guess, Rizzo.designs73@catchyartmail.com. He paused. Close. He sent the documents over. I opened the file. The signature stared up at me. It looked like mine if someone had squinted at the back of a birthday card and tried to copy it in one go. Crooked, hesitant. Not me. Is that your signature? He asked. No. Do you recognize the email? No. Could your sister or parents have had access to old documents, ID scans, tax forms? I hesitated. Years ago? Yes, because I used to trust them. That was the last time I ever used that sentence in the present tense. He walked me through the rest. A digital paper trail pointing to Ellie's devices, business license applications, payment links, supplier contracts, return addresses traced to my old apartment, fake contact forms, all under my name. You've been listed as a silent partner for over a year, he said. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was obvious. Of course I have. He asked if I'd be willing to submit a statement confirming I never consented to any of it. Yes, I said. I'll send it today. I did. Full legal affidavit. Attached my actual signature. Bold, clear, undeniable. I wanted them to know the difference. When I clicked send, I sat back and stared at the screen, not with anger, not with sadness, with certainty. Because something in me had shifted. For the first time in my life, I wasn't cleaning up after anyone. I wasn't protecting anyone. I was just telling the truth. And it felt like oxygen. After I sent the affidavit, everything went quiet again. It wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence you get before a building collapses. I figured things were happening behind the scenes. Legal gears grinding, digital trails unfurling. And for the first time in my life, I didn't try to stop it. Then it all moved at once. Ellie was charged. Wire fraud, identity theft, business fraud, violations related to international shipping and resale laws. My sister, the sensitive one, the creative one, the one they always said wasn't built for hard things, now had her name on a legal docket next to words like felony. She pled out. Of course she did. 2 years of probation, a fine that could have paid for a small car, no business license allowed until halfway to menopause, and then came my parents, conspiracy to commit fraud, aiding and abetting, filing false declarations. They pled guilty too, suspended sentence, community service, public record. The same people who used to pretend they didn't understand online banking were now officially certified criminals. I didn't go to the hearing. Didn't want to see my mother holding Ellie's hand in a courtroom whispering reassurances, like she's still our baby while the judge read off the consequences of their carefully orchestrated plan. But I read the transcript. My name came up 12 times. Not once was there an apology. And then, because life apparently has a cruel sense of humor, they asked to meet. Not Ellie this time, just them. They wanted to talk. Just one coffee, one meeting, a reset. I agreed. Not because I owed them anything, but because closure is a door you have to walk through even if it leads to nothing. We met at a cafe across from the courthouse. I arrived 10 minutes late. They were already seated, of course. My mother wore the look she always wore when she was deciding which version of herself to become. Concerned, wounded, blameless. My dad looked like a man who had practiced his lines in the mirror. I ordered the most overpriced pastry on the menu, sat down, took my time unwrapping the napkin. Neither of them spoke first, so I did. You wanted to talk? My mom went first. She always does. We didn't know she used your name. You didn't ask either. She told us it was just for shipping, that it would help her grow her business. That's how fraud works, I said, stirring my tea. You move the paperwork around until no one asks questions. My dad cleared his throat. That sound I'd heard 100 times when logic ran out and guilt needed a stand-in. We thought it was temporary. She said, you wouldn't mind. I looked at them. Really looked. She also said I'd open the box. Remember, turns out she says a lot of things. Silence. Then my mom tried again. We didn't think it would go this far. You mean, I said slowly, you didn't think you'd get caught. They didn't answer. And then she said it. The same thing she said on the phone, the same thing she's probably whispered to herself at night to justify everything. You've always been stronger, Riso. You don't have kids. You don't have anyone relying on you. We thought you'd recover. There it was. The truth beneath every betrayal. They picked me because no one needed me. Because my pain didn't create collateral damage. Because I was built for this. I set down my tea. You offered me up, I said. Because no one else depends on me. Because you decided my life was the one worth risking. That's not what we meant. No, I said. That's exactly what you meant. My father opened his mouth, closed it. My mother's face twisted into something close to heartbreak, but not quite. More like inconvenience. I stood. You both have community service now, I said, so maybe you'll finally learn what work feels like. Neither of them moved. I left the coffee on the table, half full. I didn't look back. That night, I blocked every number, deleted every contact, cleared emergency listings, wiped every old backup where their names appeared in case of crisis. Not out of anger, out of necessity. They don't get access to me anymore, not even to the version they made up. The morning after I cut them off, Jason brought me coffee. He didn't say anything, just set it gently in front of me, kissed my temple, and sat down with his own. The sunlight poured through the kitchen window like it belonged there, like it had always been there, like it had waited for us. He looked at me. "You okay?" I sipped. "I'm done." He didn't ask with what. He didn't need to. There are moments when your life doesn't explode, it just changes altitude, and you realize that everything you were holding wasn't keeping you safe. It was weighing you down. Letting go doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like silence. That's what I chose. No confrontations, no dramatic goodbye speeches, no begging for apologies I'd never get. I didn't need them to understand. I just needed them gone. The weeks that followed were quiet. No more calls, no more police, no more sweetheart voicemails filled with carefully worded traps. I kept thinking I'd feel something, grief maybe, sadness, the ache of severed roots. But I didn't. I felt still. Then one afternoon I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting, my mother's. I didn't open it. I slid it still sealed into the shredder. Some people keep trophies. I keep boundaries. Sometimes Jason catches me looking at the counter, the one where the box used to sit, and he'll raise an eyebrow. "You thinking about them?" "No," I always say, just remembering who I used to be, because the real betrayal wasn't the fraud. It wasn't the forgery. It wasn't even the fact that they tried to frame me. It was the math, the quiet, brutal math of their love. They looked at their children, one fragile, one functional, and they chose the one who cried louder. They chose the one they could still save, and they offered up the one who would survive it. That was the role they wrote for me. That was the part they cast me in without ever asking, and I played it for years, until I didn't, until I said no, until I told the truth, until I handed them their consequences and walked away. No closure, no tears, just clean. I don't know if they'll ever try again. A letter, a birthday text, an accidental run-in somewhere public where they can pretend we're still family. If they do, I'll do what I've always done. I'll choose peace. Only this time, it'll be mine. Not the kind that's negotiated in guilt or bartered in silence. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need witnesses. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. The kind you earn when you finally stop proving that you're worth keeping. Because I am, even if they never see it, especially because they never did. Have you ever been the one they counted on to take the fall? The one they called strong, just so they could justify hurting you? Tell me. Tell us. Your story might help someone else see their way out. And if this hit close to home, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to remember strength doesn't mean silence, and surviving doesn't mean staying.